we recently had a rate drop, right, Ronnie?
Yeah, so
There's pros and cons to every market. It doesn't matter which market you're in. There's always a pro and a con.
Drops.
Right.
There's still people buying even when the rates are high, right?
Oh.
There's still multiple offers even when the rates are high, right?
no, yeah, I agree. I mean, definitely, as you guys know, we definitely still see a lot of purchases, even if the rates are high, right? The mindset of like, hey, like the rates can change, but let's lock in a price right now.
It's not the perfect time is statistically always going to be sooner than better. But what people are not understanding, that's not the time to just go and it happens. It's to set up the plan.
You want to make sure that you see where you're at financially.
Definitely reach out to me or Steve or Ronnie, and we can help you get that game plan started. Welcome back to Refined Mindset. Your host, Kevin, and co-host, Steve.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back.
And our special guest, Ronnie.
Hey, how are you guys? How's everybody doing today on this Monday?
It's Monday.
Hey,
Yeah.
living the dream.
They live in the dream. No,
So-
Ronnie. No, thank you, Ronnie, with United1 Mortgage. So Ronnie's good people. He's a man of the hour.
Yeah, so today we're gonna go over like rate drops and how that impacts buyers in the DMV market. So to start off, I would like to say what do you guys think about the current market? And we recently had a rate drop, right, Ronnie?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say recently, rates have gotten better. People are already pricing in that there's going to be a 0.25, drop in rates. Hopefully, we're hearing that. Going to hear those news upcoming in September. I know the Fed is already going to have a meeting then, and that's what everybody's pretty much waiting for, is to hear those magic words. Obviously, what it'll do to the market is also what a lot of people are looking into as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I saw that they cut it. Like, I think it's the lowest it's been since last fall, 2024. So no, I'm excited to see like what's gonna happen. Of course, this is something that's very unpredictable. At the end of the day, like nobody really knows if it's gonna go up or down. It's more of like a 50-50 chance, because you never know what the Fed is gonna do or how they see like what's going on in the market.
Yeah, what's funny though is I had conversations before, and it's kind of like understanding how like the 10-year treasury bonds and the 10-year yield and everything works. And it's funny how like in order to be like proactive, you have to see like negative impacts first. It's kind of like backwards, right? It's like, hey, we can't adjust until things are worse. So I always thought it was just a funny formula how it works with everything and how the rates go up. Everything's too good. We need to slow it down. So I'm sure Ronnie probably sees that a lot.
No, definitely. Usually we tend to hear those kind of like bad news where, okay, you hear inflation has gone up, or less jobs, stuff like that. It does causes movement in the market, in the bond market, and then as well, being that those sort of news do cause, or data causes fluctuation in the market, especially in the bond market. I would say it does have an effect to the rates, and mostly in benefits in regards to like rates do get lower when you tend to hear those things. And right now, they're taking that in consideration and already pricing in those items, as well as the rates where they're at now, and hopefully where they will be at soon enough as well.
Yeah, no, and like, what do you think like would happen in the DMV market? Let's say if for some reason they were to drop like a 1% interest rate.
So what I think, kind of an analysis that I've taken in regards, and this is kind of, again, going back to what does happen is, when rates go down, people that have been on the sideline saying like, hey, like, let's wait until rates get better. A lot more people feel like, that's like their green light sort of in per se to kind of get back into the market, go see what they can afford, see what they can buy out there. And typically that does cause, obviously, as you guys will see, more buyers on your guys' end as well. And in regards to prices, I'm sure you guys can touch that base of what that kind of does as well. But yeah, on our end, I would say when rates do go down, you'll definitely see a lot more people trying to get into the market, for buying purposes, whether it even be as a primary home or as an investment property as well. We do see that as well.
And what's funny is, and people will ask, and I'm sure we get asked, all of us, is that a good or bad thing? And the answer is, it depends, right? It depends on everyone's situation, right? Because sure, the affordability, but now we're talking cash to close, more competition and all that. So, and which I love in this episode is because this is going to be great for buyers that were, like you said, waiting on the sidelines, deciding on what to do. So no, that's awesome news.
No, yeah, I totally agree.
No, you're fine. No, definitely. I was, concurring that, it does help out, a lot of people as well, afford more, I would say. As well.
Well, can I ask you this, Ronnie? Like, I think people have the wrong idea, and they think that when the rate is high, the market just stops and homes drop. As someone that's in the front lines of loans and us as in the front lines of people starting that game plan, is, that theory of, well, when the rates go up, everything drops. There's still people buying even when the rates are high, right? Oh. There's still multiple offers even when the rates are high, right?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, definitely, as you guys know, we definitely still see a lot of purchases even if the rates are high, right? Because we have people, especially in this area, where we're at, there's a lot of movement going on. So there's a lot of people coming in, coming out. So with that being said, it causes for people to buy regardless of where the rates are at, because people need a place to live, and buying is always a good time when you want to stop paying rent and having something to your name, and rates and then don't really matter, because rates can always change, and with the mindset of like, hey, like the rates can change, but let's lock in a price right now, in that regard, right? Because if let's say rates do go down, then that tends, to have an effect on prices. So why not let's lock in a price now and worry about, the rate at some point later on. And, it definitely helps, I would say. And there's a lot of movement when it comes to that. And people are still buying, even in a higher rate environment, I would say.
No, yeah, I think that, the unique thing about Northern Virginia is that a lot of people, owners that currently, have a home, they get more equity over time than other areas. So in this area, that's why you'll see like people who already have a home, if they want to get something bigger or change their home, then they have that money to be able to buy like another home from that equity they gained over the years.
Yeah, and we always tell people, like, if you have the goal to buy, it's statistically proven to buy sooner than later. I mean, what is the average, values go up every year, 3 to 5 in the country? I think we're like at a minimum 5, 6. I don't know about you guys, but most people don't get 6% raises every year. I mean, unless you're, self-employed business owner, but most people can't catch up to the high cost of living. So, when people were like, oh, the rates are higher, the market's going to crash, or the home's going to go down. No, all it means, instead of 10% increase in certain areas, it's now 5%. It doesn't mean it's going down. It means it's growing at an average pace. And then until, like Ronnie said, those rates drop, now there's a lot of competition out there, which is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you're kind of spot on there. That competition part is what we're probably going to end up seeing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll be seeing that if something like this, keeps going, where the rates are going to go down. And again, we're here regardless of whether it's in the market now or the market future. I guess, going back to saying the same, part where the right time to buy is the moment that you say like, hey, like let's stop renting, like, go ahead and let's buy, regardless of rates, but yeah, they do play a part as well, as you mentioned, affordability and how many more people want to get back into the buying game.
Oh yeah, I think like what you guys are saying is spot on, and I definitely agree. Like, with the best time to buy is when you're ready to buy. So if you're ready now, then I would say make the move now, because there's pros and cons to every market. It doesn't matter which market you're in. There's always a pro and a con. Right now, the pro is that it's not as competitive as it was when the rates were low. And I mean, Steve, you can attest to that. During the COVID market, the rates were super low, right? But how hard was it to actually get a home?
So I'm laughing, and I'm not laughing like in a sense of like ha ha ha, like, but I mean there's times where on our team we've had the same agents offering on the same homes as other agents on our team. It was that competitive. The biggest thing is, and like you said it perfectly, Kevin, it's like it's not the perfect time is statistically always going to be sooner than better. But what people are not understanding, that's not the time to just go and it happens. It's to set up the plan. That is the most important thing.
Yeah.
You know how many people Ronnie has that it's like, hey, this is their goal. We want to set up the plan. It may be a week, 2 months, 3 months, a year, but that is closer than waiting and then doing nothing about it, right? I mean, during COVID, it was incredible. The biggest challenge was the cash to close. I mean, not everyone was. I mean, why would a seller offer selling concessions when they have 7 other offers that says otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where it's like, look, I understand there's conditions we can't control, leases, moving out, maybe a bankruptcy has to clear, things like that. But if you're saying you want to be in the new home by January of 2027, and we predict that the market, because most of the time we're in a low inventory market, so we have to assume to be in the best position, you're gonna have to save cash to close. I would hope that until now to January 27, we're doing everything with Ronnie, with the plan of everything to put yourself in the best position. And I think that's the key that people are not understanding is, not in a bad way. That's why we're here, right? We're here to educate. It's about the plan. It doesn't mean you're going to talk tomorrow and then their keys is the next day. That would be great, but it's the planning.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you guys have any questions, like, or if you even have the thought that in the future that you want to be a homeowner, definitely reach out to me or Steve or Ronnie, and we can help you get that game plan started. That way, there's no doubt or there's no like unveiled questions where you think you might have like that idea of how it's supposed to go down, or the price in your head. That way, like for certain what's to come, what do you need to do to get ready for that point, and how can you get this plan like executed.
Definitely, yeah. When you want to, start, that process, I recommend doing it as soon as you can, because as Steve mentioned, as Kevin mentioned, you want to get that game plan going. You want to make sure that you see where you're at financially in terms of like being from scores, your credit scores when it comes to income. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to, buying a house, right? And making sure you're good up front when it comes to the financing is something very important. You want to have an idea of what you're going to be, price range, where you're going to be at, when it comes to what monthly payment you're going to be paying. And a lot of these items you want to know beforehand, before you start looking, because it makes more sense to do that in the front, and then rather than doing it later down the road, because you save yourself a lot of time in that aspect. And even if your plan is to move in like a year or buy in a year, it's still good to reach out and see where you're at, because you never know, your game plan might be a year game plan compared. There's a lot of differentiation, a year game plan versus someone that can do it in 6 months, so there's different scenarios out there. I would say going for it, as early as possible is always the way to go.
And I want to add something because I think that's great information. And, we hear a lot, you know, we're not ready yet. We want to pay off things. We want to be in the best financial situation. And I always tell people, I said, we've done this for a while that I've heard financial advisors tell me they do great, but they're not lenders. Their one thing isn't residential mortgages. So what they may tell you may benefit the wrong goal, where it may be, hey, Ronnie, should I pay off? No. All you need to do is pay this amount to this amount to be under this utilization rate. Keep the rest for cash to close. And that's another big misconception that I think a lot of people need to know is it's not just about paying everything off. It doesn't work like that, right? Mm-hmm. Or what's the other thing, Ronnie? I'm at a 640 and I want to go to 700 score. And in the hot market, that 6 months time period that it may be forecasted may negate the whole interest, being a little bit lower, right? And so that's the important thing is like talk to Ronnie first. Like we know a lot about lending, but we're not Ronnie. We're not United1 Mortgage. And don't just start paying things off, especially if it's revolving credit. It may actually hurt you. So talk a little bit about that, Ronnie, kind of, because I know that's probably like, I wish you would have chatted with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. When it comes to that, you've mentioned the point of what, a lot of people tend to feel like, hey, let me get prepared. Let me start paying things off, right? And they just go all, going crazy with whatever funds that maybe they had ready for a down payment for closing costs and start going to paying off items that weren't necessarily needed, right? Or in terms of like to qualify, you could still qualify even with those payments. People start paying off, the whole car notes without knowing that sometimes you only need to pay off up until 10 months left on the car, versus paying off a whole, car note. You could save some money in that aspect too for down payment. So you definitely want to make sure you reach out to a lender, someone that's going to also, look at, your credit and, in deep in depth, seeing like, hey, like, okay, these are your liabilities. You don't necessarily have to pay this off, stuff like that. People start, hey, let me pay off all my collections, not knowing that some collections are allowed on your credit. When it comes to FHAs, there's some typical stuff that we do see that, are allowed to be on your credit, so not necessarily to be paid off or, taken care of right at that instant. But again, making sure that what you're doing up front is always going to be important, and not start, moving funds around without actually reaching to someone that knows how that can affect your purchasing power or the overall aspect of your financing when it comes to a house.
Love it. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you joining us today, Ronnie, and Steve as well joining. And
Oh, thank you. Ronnie, what's a good way to contact you, Ronnie?
So yeah, a good way to contact me would be, you can always reach out to me via cell phone. I'm always available. As you guys will know, every day, through the week, I'm here, 703-626-2838. That is my cell phone. And you can also reach out to me via email. It's RONY, Ronnie, at United1Mortgage.com. Those are, I would say, the best way to reach out to me. Again, don't hesitate, even if it's a small question. We're here. There is no dumb questions when it comes to buying. There's just, a matter of getting that information out to you guys, which is something that everybody deserves at the end, right? Is to get that information and, see what's out there for them.
Yeah, I love it.
Definitely. Thank you guys also for having me as well. It's been an honor to, sit down and chat with you guys. It's always a good time. You guys are awesome. Again, when it comes to your buying and selling needs or anything like that, reach out to Kevin and Steve. They're definitely an awesome people, and they know what they're doing, and definitely would come with years of experience when it comes to all that.
Oh, thank you, Ronnie. Maybe I need you to say that. Thank you.
Awesome, man.
No problem.
Thanks.
No problem.
All right, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe.